So with another arguably broken character that recently released, Isolde makes her debut as a faction buff character, specifically for the mythical team. One of the better and usable one compared to Gizaroth and Odious. She also has access to one of the rarest class type, which is Dragon. So let's go check out what she's capable of and how to build her. So with the talent, her attack and defense increases and it gets doubled when fighting against dragons. After taking action, she can choose a type of will, which has a cooldown of 2 turns. One of them lets her ignore guard, the second one increases her skill damage, and the third one reduces skill cooldown by 1 turn. When having all 3 types of will, her damage dealt increases and can act again after attacking. These effect ignores immunity and cannot be dispelled, and the act again effect can only trigger once per turn. So the main principle with their talent is very similar to Obero. Very slow to actually get them going, but once they reach their maximum stacks, they unleash their full potential. And so at that for Isolde, she essentially plays like SP Sherry, very much like so. That attack and defense though, at 6 stars, it caps out at 25%, and when fighting dragons, you will get a grand total of a whopping 50%. The only character that can even get that much is Gory from the Slayers collab. So yeah, you can bet that Isolde will be incredibly offensively bulky, especially when you add that 1C to the equation, which gives her a shield. So yeah, her tankiness is going to be on par with that of Genshiel. With the class choices, her infantry makes her tankier, which is all there is to it while also having only 3 mobility, but her dragon class is a way much better choice. It makes her a little bit more offensive while having 4 mobility. Not only that, she gets access to a vast amount of equipment choices, even having no class type weakness. With the Mastery Stones, you want HP attack and defense for all of them. However, for the weapon accessory, you can do skill for more damage potential, or you can do something like I did. I'm mainly focusing more on bulk than anything. The weapon I did skill since, to me, having that flat 5 defense isn't like a big deal to me. With the Arena Stones, I gave her a defensive set, however you can do magic defense instead of suffering less crit chance. But if some of you guys rather have more damage power, then you want to do an offensive set. With the soldier choices, she has some really good ones. The werewolf is the best for sustaining, plus they can hit hard while having a strong amount of defense. The recent new flower one has balanced stats and does more damage when moving 3 more blocks. You got the Steel Winged Warrior, which does the best when taking in range damage while also doing some good damage as well. Then you got the Giant Lizard Rider. They will do the most damage out of all of the soldier choices that you can use, as long as you're fighting enemies if there's no other enemies within 1 block. So make sure you position right, otherwise you can use the Dragoon to better deal with infantries. If I had to do like a top 3, I'd say the Werewolf for better sustain power, Star Prisma Pegasus for the balanced stats, then you got the Giant Lizard Rider if you want to hit harder. Then with the equipment choices, I'm only gonna list what she can use in the Dragon class since it's better in every single way. Her best weapon will be the Ragnarok and Crystal Stinger. Crystal Stinger may be a bit more tougher to use since you got a stacked skill on her, so if that's the case, you want that on her Mastery Stones so that she can get that defense ignore. The second best choices would be the Bone Crusher for the defense drop or Helmet Disable in PvP. You can also use Mimir, which is great for sustain, that can even help with more damage. In PvP, you can use the Balance Blade to focus on AoE strategies, but if you're doing that, she won't effectively be able to one-shot stuff when she does actually use a single target skill. Then your third and last best bet would be the Throne Guardian for the HP, and even Allegiance Blade, which did came out on the first Battle Pass. It only gives 5% attack and defense at first, but when you have a faction buff, you get 5% more, which is better than the Sealed Guardian since you get 10% defense rather than the 5%. And since Isolde is a faction buffer, it can work really well. Her best armor will be the Last Rites, or the Battle Armor. I really recommend Last Rites, since it allows her to better survive being one-shotted. Of course, if you don't have any spare Last Rites, then you can use the Battle Armor, which helps you take less damage when being attacked. Her second set of best armor would be the Time Mat to take less magic damage. Her being a dragon unit helps guarantee that. Then you got the Aeolus, Bloodline, and the Zera Legend. If you don't have any of these, then the Demon Lizard Skin is your last saving grace. Her best helmet choices will include Tear for more damage. You got the Feather Crown. When fighting against enemies with less HP, her defense and magic defense gets increased by a lot, 15%. But having this means that you will need tons of HP to fulfill that condition. It's something that you can think about to use in PvP, but in regular content, it can be decent. Same idea with the new helmet, Winged Twilight. It gives more HP that adds a fixed amount of defense or magic defense, whichever is the highest, to the other before battle. Really good stuff to help cover the other stat to better survive against magic attacks, since Isolde is more physically bulky. The second best set would include the Flower for the healing if below 50% HP, King's Crown to enable extra damage for a teammate, or the Aeneas Helmet for more HP and defense. Then your last best bet would be the Snow Beanie for more defense if being attacked, Jormungandr Eye to reduce the enemy's damage dealt if within 2 blocks, which is RNG. Then the Vampire Mask, which is really only good in regular content. You can reduce the enemy's defense within 2 blocks, that's a 50% chance. With the accessory, my number 1 best in slot will be the recently new one, Wings of Hidden Splendor. It released last month, which costed money from the Battle Pass. It's going to be broken for anyone that can use it, since it's a guaranteed breeze if you haven't attacked on a single turn. If you want more damage, Prisoners, Slayers, Judge, then some of the situational ones include Bloodthirsty Nail to avoid being silenced, and the Backtrack Edge to RNG a skill cooldown. Then for more bulk, then you got the Overlord's Badge to be immune to stat down, then the Swordsmith mainly for the silence immunity, so that she can still use her talent skills. As for her best enchants, you can use Breeze or Full Moon for the flexible stats. If your Isolde is more focused on the aggressive side, then I would argue that Meteor can be a great choice for that strong one-shot potential. The best enchant stats that you want to go for is HP, attack, and defense. Of course, mainly that you want to focus more on HP and attack, since getting the perfect enchant stats will cost you a lot. However, for PvP, I would say like at least try to get like maybe 1 or 2 defense in there. Necessarily, you don't really have to, but considering the amount of physical attackers in there, it would be wise, but of course, you don't have to. Just having a lot of HP with attack is good enough. Alright, so hopefully you guys now have an idea on how to build your Isolde. So let's go ahead and walk through her first awakening stage for those struggling with it. Alright, so for this stage, you're going to be up against Juggler, Renata, and then Oboro. So the skills that you want to run is a 1C, the unique one. It gives her a shield that lets her act again. Then you can do her unique one. It does like 3 different things. One of them lets her attack from 2 blocks, and the other one is a healing skill, which can be really good. The soldiers that you want to use is the Werewolf, the new Flower one, Star Prism of Pegasus, and then the Giant Lizard Rider, which is the hardest hitting soldier that she can use. Alright, so a thing that you can do when fighting Juggler is that you can turnstall. So I'm just going to go ahead and hang all the way back here, and then I'm just going to choose Resistance, since it will let the soldier hit even harder. And after that, you're going to have to wait 2 turn cooldown. So pretty much what I'm trying to do is that since Juggler is a very slow character, he's going to really have a difficult time trying to catch up to Isolde. So I'm going to do my very best to turnstall as much as I can to get all 3 stacks. Because if you have all 3, she does more damage and is able to act again. So yeah, all I'm doing right now is just hanging up and down. Now I have 2 stacks while having 1 more turn on her talent. So I'm just going to have Isolde hang all the way over here. So what I want to do is use the act again skill. And hopefully this should allow her to, yeah, there we go. Choose her last skill, her talent skill. So now we can get the act again while also doing more damage. So I'm going to go ahead and use her unique 2C because this does magic damage if you read her thing. And Juggler does take in more magic damage. Yeah, defense is a lot more hard than the magic one. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this on Juggler. Hopefully one shot, definitely one shot. I don't know why his soldier is like incredibly weak. And then I'm just going to position Isolde like right here because it should be an act again. Really nice. And then we're going to go ahead and attack Renata using Air Slash. That reflection was a little bit scary, but nothing to really worry about. Also, if you're having a tough time trying to kill them and they're just doing too much damage against you, what you want to do is save a unique 2C. Because if you choose the yellow skill from a talent, you'll have access to this one, which will heal her for 30% HP, get that regenerate for the little bit extra healing, and lower her damage taken. So yeah, a really good tip for you guys. Also, just make sure that you are on the defensive terrain on the left or right. But I don't really need to do that, so I'm just gonna go ahead and finish off Oboro. To be honest, having that skill damage increase from a talent is really all you need, since you don't really have to wait that long for a skill to come back. But yeah, just having all 3 of the stacks really helps to make sure that you are doing enough damage. So yeah, that's something that I highly recommend you guys doing, if you're not already strong enough. But yeah, once you get that going, it becomes really easy. Alright, now on to her 3C. As a 5 turn cooldown, the passive on it, when triggering her talent effect from either Will or Act Again, she faction buff for the mythical theme. That gives a special effect where melee attack damage is increased and reduces reflect damage taken by 30% for 4 turns. This thing is a single target. When she has 2 or more types of will, the enemy will be unable to attack in battle. After battle, she does an AoE that attacks enemies up to 3 blocks behind them in a straight line, so 3 blocks wide and 3 blocks long. When she eliminates an enemy, she gets a random will that she does not already have. So yeah, this is something that you really want for the faction buff. But the skill itself, you really want that patience to be able to attack safely. The AoE though, you should be able to 2-tap things, and getting that extra stack of will is really nice. That's if you're able to kill. Alright, so if you guys are curious, this is what her 3C animation looks like. Alright, so if you guys are new around here, normally with the second awakening stages, I don't ever show them off unless they are actually really hard to do, which in most cases, they really aren't. Because you do get 3 other characters that you can use, and they're all that you need to actually clear it. Like, you don't even need to rely on your own character some of the times. Just play it really smart, and you should be able to clear it. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and get right onto her showcase. Okay, so let's start off with the talent. Her attack and defense are increased, and doubles when fighting against dragon units. After taking action, she can choose a type of will, which has a cooldown of 2 turns. One lets her ignore guard, second increases skill damage, and the third reduces skill cooldown by 1. When possessing all 3 types of will, damage dealt is increased and can act again after attacking. These effect ignores immunity, cannot be dispelled, and act again can only be triggered once per turn. So right after she ends a turn, you can see that she has 3 different options. The red one, Solitary Journey, lets her ignore guard. The pink one, Resistance, increases her skill damage, and then the yellow one, Sustenance, reduces skill cooldown by 1 turn. The first two, really easy to understand, but this one right here may be a little bit confusing for some of you guys, because the way how it works is pretty weird and quite unique, because it doesn't really do like the clock animation every time that she ends her turn, which makes it really easy to show what's going on. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So her 1C has like a 4-turn cooldown, her 3C has a 5-turn cooldown, right? So remember that, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and end her turn, Isolde's turn right now. And now you can see the clock animation. Now that clock animation only happens 1 time after using that talent skill, right? Now we check out her buffs. She has Sustenance and the cooldown. And the unique thing that I'm talking about is the way how they handle the cooldown. So now that we check out her skills, her 1C has a 3-turn cooldown, and her 3C has a 4-turn cooldown. So yeah, that's how they handle that one. It's not like every turn you're gonna see the clock animation every single time. Honestly, I think they did it that way because it would be really annoying to see the clock animation every single turn. Like for some people, I can understand how weird that is because it makes it really hard to understand what's going on with that talent skill. Honestly, for me, I honestly like how they handle that. And to prove it to you guys, she acted again, no clock animation, 3-turn cooldown, and I'm in her turn, no clock animation. It just simply permanently reduces the skill cooldown. But since I did use the act again, let's go ahead and take a look at it. So yeah, right now it has a 3-turn cooldown, but originally it would be a 4-turn cooldown. This one gives her Eternal, which lets her be immune to all debuffs, gets a shield that covers 25% of her HP, and then when removed, she gets reinforcement for 2 turns. Cannot be dispelled, can move additional 4 blocks, and attack after using this, and buffs on her do not lose their turn duration. So yeah, this is what it looks like, and it just basically tells you what I was already talking about. And so now if we count, 1, 2, 3, 4, rather than the usual 3. So yeah, unlike any other act again skill that would let you move 4 blocks, this one doesn't have her fulfill certain condition. And then I'm gonna go ahead and attack Sherry to lose that shield, and then after that, she should get reinforcement. She did get the extra healing, and there it is, reinforcement. And if we do check out her unique 2C, this thing is an active skill, can choose 1 type of skill from a talent, will. And the cooldown is based on the skills. And the rest is just basically the skills, which if you do click on it, you can see 3 different options, and if you click and hold, it'll tell you what it is. Now these 2 are blacked out, right? And that's because I don't have those type of will. But this one right here, the yellow one, I'm able to use this because I have the type of will that allows Isolde to have that, which is based on their talent buffs. So let me show you. I'm gonna go ahead and end Isolde's turn, and I'm just gonna go ahead and grab Resistance. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that. And so now I have another talent buff. And then now if you go ahead and check out the 2C, I'm now able to use the purple or pink skill. So now let's check out what all of them can do. Starting off with the yellow one, a really good one. A 2-turn cooldown, it restores HP to allies by 30% and applies regenerate and damage taken reduction for 2 turns. So by clicking on it, it has a 3-block radius around her. So let's go ahead and use it. Ooh. That's a really nice animation. Pretty good healing, and now we can check out the buffs. Really good, really good. Really good situational skill right there. And really 1 of 2 of her only support capability. And if you check out her pink or purple one, 2-turn cooldown, that's an AoE that attacks within 2 blocks that applies buff block and unable to revive for 2 turns, which is only in PvP. So yeah, really good disruptive skill, even though the range does suck. So yeah, if you do have the Balance Blade, and if you find yourself using the AoE quite a bit of times, Balance Blade will help it become a little bit more bearable. And then with the red skill, it's a single target that attacks from 2 blocks. Damage is regarded as magic, and melee soldiers can attack with you. After attacking, you can move another 3 blocks. Really, really good. It's one thing to attack from 2 blocks, but being able to move back, it's dumb for what Isolde can do. Also remember that if you did choose the red skill from her talent, she's able to ignore guard permanently. And by the way, yeah, her talent is all permanent by the way, if I didn't say that earlier, which is insanely strong. So right now, Elwyn is guarding, but that doesn't matter because Isolde is just gonna ignore guard anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and attack someone like Leanna right now. Might not be able to one-shot due to how high her HP is. But yeah, the animation right there wasn't anything special. It's just supposed like a recolored air slash. So yeah, a nice hidden run right there. And then finally we get to show off the 3C. It has a 5-turn cooldown, but if you use her talent skill, it would be a 4-turn cooldown. The passive on it, when obtaining a will or at again, she faction buff for the mythical team. With the special effect that melee attacks are increased and reflect damage is lowered for 4 turns. It's a single target skill. When having 2 or more types of will, the enemy will be unable to attack in battle. After battle, deals AoE damage to the target and enemies up to 3 blocks behind them in 3 straight lines. And the range on it is actually 3 blocks wide and 3 blocks long. When eliminating an enemy, gains a random type of will that she does not already have. So let's go ahead and pick a talent skill. And right after this, faction buffs. And now we go ahead and check it. So there it is, with the unique buff, melee damage attacks are increased and takes less reflect damage. So yeah, if you really want to make the most out of this, make sure you are attacking from 1 block. Although I do feel like the other effects are better due to it being like HP condition, so it's kind of whatever. And right now I only have 2 of the talent skills, so I'm missing only 1 more, but if I do end up getting the kill, I should be able to get the last one. And since I do have 2, this should allow Isolde to attack safely, where the enemies cannot attack. So we are going to kill Elwyn and see all that's going to happen afterwards. So let's go. Okay, the animation was pretty nice. And there goes the AoE, see? 3 blocks wide and 3 blocks long. It also did the animation where, I'm pretty sure it's the animation where you get the talent skill. So there it is. And I was really actually hoping that she would act again after getting that. Because if you do get all 3 types of will, she's able to act again. But it seems like you can't really exploit that. So yeah, one of the things that I really like about the faction buff is that when you run out of will, just simply acting it again is what triggers the faction buff. And the act again is very consistent. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and get off with the 1C skill to act again, just to get a little bit of healing. And right now her buff does have a 2-turn cooldown, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and use something like a AoE, do a bit of damage right there. And then there we go, the faction buff. Did all that, and then there was a faction buff, and then there we go, reactivated. And yeah, there's no cooldown on the at the end to tell you that, but yeah, trust when I say that it is very consistent. And now literally on the next turn, oh I forgot to turn off animation, but yeah, after killing Leanna, she's gonna act again. Unlike Sherry where she has to wait like a cooldown, like an extra round to act again, Isolde doesn't have to wait. She can literally act again every single turn, like literally way better than Sherry, just due to being a little bit more consistent. She doesn't really have to worry about falling off on damage, because every time she's gonna act again, she's just gonna reapply her faction buff, where Sherry needs someone else to help do that for her. And also the one thing that I couldn't really do with Isolde is that have someone act again for her to have Isolde do another act again for herself. I'm not sure if Sherry is able to do that, but with Isolde, it's really understandable why she can't do that. It's such an insane character. So yeah, Isolde is gonna really suck at the start, but once you really get her going, Isolde is gonna be so cracked out. This character has a lot of potential going for her. So, overall, Isolde is not arguably broken. She is broken. Granted, if she's able to fully set up. If you think about it, she's a nice mixture of Obro and Sherry put together. Setting her up is going to be very similar to Obro, and then plays like Sherry once she gets all her stacks. And the best part about it is that she can act again into an AoE, then act again into her 3C, or use a single target into her 3C to pull off maybe a double kill. That many follow-ups in the single turn is really insane. Like Isolde really has a lot of movement. And plus, like I said earlier, unlike Sherry, where you need to wait 1 turn every time for the act again, Isolde can literally do that every single turn. That's not even all that she can do. One of her more notable characteristics is that she's a mythical faction buffer, and is able to provide a little bit healing with some DR. So yeah, that's really all the support that she can provide, but it does allow her to be sufficient. Her tankiness can be on par with Grenchio, that scales stupidly high when fighting dragon units. And her act again really helps her even more with that shield, so you don't really have to worry about her dying easily. Despite all of that, her weakness is very obvious, but it's not all that horrible, since while she's setting up, she can at least do something. So in something like in the early fights, you may have to be like very passive with her. Even if those enemies come at you while setting up, she can attack or heal. So she's not vulnerable unlike Obro. So yeah, she definitely made it to the list of being one of the best characters so far. Like right there next to Eshin. Back to back broken characters. Alright, so that was Isolde's showcase. If I had to rank her, triple S tier for sure. In all types of content, PvE and PvP. She is super consistent at everything that she does. Even with the tiny support, it will be very flexible too. You're gonna be able to go crazy with her. A character that I would highly recommend getting. But I will say that mythical faction teams are like really expensive. I say that because all of the mythical teams, I'm pretty sure, like at least most of them, you have to summon for them. If you want to build a team like, let's say, Isolde for the faction buff, Lightbringer as a tank, Rosencio as a broken healer, and then like another DPS like Bernhardt and Edon Como, something like that. So if you really want to build a mythical team, just really plan it out. And if you aren't, I would still get Isolde either way. Isolde is going to be very self-sufficient. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. If you guys did enjoy this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and feel free to let me know down in the comments how you guys feel about Isolde and if you managed to get her or not. So yeah, thanks for watching. Your fellow Z.